Back in on the Bama Football Tailgate Show as we get you ready for Alabama and Western Kentucky. And there he is, the man, the myth, the legend from BamaOnline and On3, our recruiting expert for years and years, the guru of recruiting. Andrew Bone, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa, the Farmers Market, the Tuscaloosa Civil Rights Trail, the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater, Druid City, and all the great barbecue and food around town, brought to you by them. Bone, first off, it is great to see you. And since we've talked last on here, Alabama has a new head coach, a new coaching staff, but it hasn't slowed them down in recruiting. Number 2, according to your service.
Yeah, great to be back with you, Mick. Happy football season. It's kind of crazy that we're here. It just seems like yesterday when Nick Saban announced his retirement, and I think that day I was sitting. I'd gone into my bedroom, and somebody had texted me about there was a big announcement happening that day, and of course you start reaching out to different people, asking, different questions, and everybody's like, yeah, no, standard stuff. First day of school, meeting with the freshmen, full team meeting, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, your world kind of flips upside down and because we had just gone through the entire football season. You'd gone through signing day, transfer portal, all that kind of stuff. And you're just like, all right, finally, a little bit of a break. It's not gonna be too much going on, and then that happens, and then you're just you're kind of just going nonstop for the next several months because you had coaching changes, transfer portal reopened, and spring practice, all these different visitors coming in, summer camp, summer visits. It was just so much that was going on, just nonstop. And when we finally got to August, practice starts, but it sort of slowed down, a little bit because it was just pandemonium for a while. It was kind of crazy. But once you kind of got into the season, you're like, okay, we know what's going on. It's football time. Time to go to work. So it's been pretty fun. But yeah, Alabama currently sitting with the number 2 recruiting class in the country, according to On3 Sports. We've had so much coverage at BamaOnline.com for the last several months. Recruiting front, and people didn't know what to expect. People did not know what to expect with this new coaching staff. Different guys from all over the country, a lot of coaches that people just weren't familiar with, including Coach Kalen DeBoer, coming from Washington. How was he? And being a South Dakota native, being on basically on the West Coast, his majority of his career, in the Midwest. What was he going to be able to do in Tuscaloosa? Well, it's not necessarily about where you've been. It's more about who you are. And Coach Kalen DeBoer is one of the most genuine, personable coaches that you'll ever find. And that's coming from so many different people, whether it's, people who coached for him, people who played for him, people who, I talked to somebody this summer who lives in California, and their neighbor went to the same high school as Coach DeBoer. And when the announcement was made, they were talking about it, and the guy was just blown away. Talked about how great of a person he is, how Alabama's just got an unbelievable coach and coach in person, and Coach DeBoer. And then you kind of hear that from families of recruits. Dawson Merritt, who's one of Alabama's top commitments out of Overland Park in Kansas, top 100 guy. I talked to his father, who coaches for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he told me we came down to Tuscaloosa on our first visit, and we went and met with Coach DeBoer on the balcony right out that overlooks the practice field. He said, we talked to him for over an hour and a half, and nobody else even knew we were there. We were just having a normal conversation. 10% of it was about football. Everything else was just personal. What you guys like to do, where you're from, getting to know you. And we heard that from so many different people, throughout the summer. So recruiting, he's got down. But what everybody wants to know, obviously, is what is he going to be able to do this football season on the field when he's, in Death Valley, and when he's in Norman, Oklahoma, when he's playing up against Georgia in Tuscaloosa on September the 28th. How is Alabama going to perform on the field? Because he's going to be judged, and that coaching staff is going to be judged by what they do this season more so than what they've done over the course of the last 8 months. And
right.
everything they've done over the last 8 months, it's been as good as you could possibly imagine. You had your early hiccups with the transfer portal, which was expected. That was going to happen when Nick Saban retired. But they were able to stop that bleeding. They were able to bring in some reinforcements, and now it's time to show everybody what you can do.
Let me ask you this: you lose 2 guys to Auburn, Coleman and Smith, right? And then you lose 1 guy that flips a linebacker to Tennessee. So, but Alabama's still the number 2 recruiting class. How are they going to make that up? And is what is this? Ty Jackson, the linebacker out of Florida, is he a guy that we can expect to see coming to Alabama? Where are the inroads to finish this recruiting class and also try to keep these guys from leaving to get to that, at least to the finish line at number 2 or number 1?
Yeah, so I think on the defensive line front, they definitely want to add at least one more player. They've got Justice Terry, 5-star defensive lineman out of Georgia, that's going to be coming back in for the Georgia game next month. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a guy that we're going to be watching pretty closely. And there's some other guys that are out there that Alabama's evaluating during their senior season. We've seen some new offers that have gotten extended, but it's still one of those situations where you may extend offers right now, but you're still kind of in that evaluation mode. You want to see them a little bit more as seniors. You want to get these guys on campus, meet with the coaching staff. We've seen that throughout the last, several years, even with the previous staff and Coach Saban. They would offer players as seniors, get them on campus, meet with them, try to decide, are these guys that we want to continue to pursue, really push for, bring them back for an official visit. So even though you might see an offer that gets extended out there to a senior, as long, unless they're coming to campus and meeting with the coaching staff and everything looks good kind of afterwards, you really don't, I wouldn't really put much stock in it just yet. You're just kind of waiting and seeing. But I definitely think that Alabama's evaluating a lot of guys. Safety position is going to be kind of interesting because they don't have any safety commitments after Derek Smith flipped to Auburn. Now, I think they would certainly love to get Derek Smith back on board, but it seems like he may want to play wide receiver in college rather than safety. So, and that's what Auburn recruited him to play. Now, in my opinion, Derek Smith is one of the best overall athletes in the country. He could play any position, and I think Auburn or Alabama would be open to letting him play just about any position. But he was recruited specifically by the Crimson Tide to play that safety role. So, who else is out there? There's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of guys that Alabama has really gone after. There's a kid that's going to be visiting Alabama this weekend, Antavius Richardson, who is a commitment to South Florida. Didn't go to really any camps during the summer, has never been to Alabama before, but he is on Alabama's radar. He's 6'2", 175 pounds, ran a 10.68 in the 100 meters. So this is a guy that, has some great film, obviously has some great speed. I think Alabama would like to meet with him in person, sit down with him, talk to him, get to know him a little bit, determine if this is a guy that they're really going to push for. So since we haven't really seen a ton of offers, that kind of indicates that, it's not necessarily a, major need right now, but they still would like to get somebody. So, I think they would at least like to get one safety and kind of see where things are at. It's a long season. We talk about this all the time at BamaOnline.com. Even though Alabama has the number 2 recruiting class, they had an unbelievable summer. We're still kind of at the halfway point.
Right.
Even though we still got even though we only have 3 months left, there's a long football season ahead, and so many things can change. Coaching changes. Players could go to different games and have a different opinion. There's so many kids that are watching Alabama this season. Not just guys that are, uncommitted, but you have guys who are committed elsewhere. You even have your own commitments that want to see what the product's going to look like on the field this season on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Are they going to continue to have the same success they had with Nick Saban? And, if they do, things can continue to go well on the recruiting front.
All right, guys, make sure you follow Andrew Bone Bama Online, part of On3, the On3 Sports Network. Bone, always the best in the business. Great to see you, brother. And for those of you guys that are hanging out with us on our YouTube channel, the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel, like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. We got more Alabama and Western Kentucky talk as we get you ready for the opener right here on the Bama Tailgate Show.